The night carried on, but everything felt different now. Ryan's teasing grin, the way he looked at me with a newfound curiosity. It was as if the air between us had shifted. We settled onto the couch, a movie playing in the background, though neither of us paid much attention. Ryan sat closer than usual, our shoulders brushing lightly. Each subtle touch sent an electric current through me, and I tried my best to act normal, like this wasn't one of the most surreal moments of my life. But inside, my mind raced. "Hey," Ryan said softly, breaking the silence. I turned to him, my heart pounding in my chest. "Yeah," I replied, trying to steady my voice. "You're not going to regret this, right?" he asked, his tone unusually serious. I studied his face, searching for any hint of doubt or hesitation, but there was none. He seemed calm, almost certain. "No," I said firmly, shaking my head. "I could never regret you." Ryan smiled, a small, genuine smile that made my chest tighten. "Good," he said, leaning back against the couch, "because I think this might be the start of something really good." His words filled me with a strange mix of hope and disbelief. As overwhelming as the night had been, they also gave me courage. Maybe he was right. Maybe this didn't have to be as complicated as I'd imagined. We sat in silence for a while, the warmth of his presence both comforting and nerve-wracking. Every so often, I caught him glancing at me out of the corner of his eye, his lips quirking into a soft smile, like he was seeing me in a new light. "So," I finally said, attempting to break the tension, "is this weird for you?" Ryan chuckled, shaking his head. "Weird? No. Different, sure, but not in a bad way." His answer surprised me, though I wasn't sure why. I'd spent so long convincing myself that this could never happen, that Ryan would never see me as anything more than a friend. Yet here he was, completely at ease, as if this was the most natural thing in the world. "You're taking this a lot better than I expected," I admitted. Ryan smirked, leaning back with his signature confidence. "What can I say? I'm full of surprises." My stomach flipped at the playful tone in his voice. "Yeah, you are," I murmured quietly. The room fell silent again, but this time it wasn't awkward. It felt peaceful, like we'd crossed some invisible threshold and found ourselves on the other side together. Finally, Ryan turned to me, his expression growing more thoughtful. "So, what now?" I blinked, caught off guard. "What do you mean?" "I mean, where do we go from here?" he said. "Do we keep things the same, or do we try something more?" His question hung in the air, and I struggled to respond. This was uncharted territory for both of us, and the last thing I wanted was to push him into something he wasn't ready for. Ryan must have noticed my hesitation because he reached out, placing his hand gently on mine. His touch was steady, reassuring. "Hey," he said softly, "I'm not asking for all the answers right now. I just want to know how you feel." I took a deep breath, trying to steady the storm of emotions swirling inside me. "I feel like this is too good to be true," I admitted. Ryan's thumb brushed against the back of my hand, a small but comforting gesture. "It's not," he said, his voice firm. "I promise." The sincerity in his words made my chest tighten. For the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to believe that maybe, just maybe, this could work. "You really mean that?" I asked. "Yeah," Ryan said, his gaze unwavering. "I care about you more than I realized. And if this is something you want, then I want it too." His words hit me like a wave, washing away the last of my doubts. "Ryan," I whispered, my voice trembling as I leaned closer. He closed the distance between us, his lips meeting mine in a kiss that was tender yet full of emotion. There was no hesitation, no uncertainty, just pure connection. His hand slid up to cup my face, pulling me closer as the world around us seemed to fade away. Every touch, every movement felt like a dream come true, and I never wanted it to end. A new beginning. As dawn approached, painting the sky in soft hues of orange and pink, Ryan and I found ourselves still wrapped in each other's arms on the couch. The realization that this wasn't just a fleeting moment, but potentially the start of something real and lasting, began to sink in. When Ryan finally stirred, his eyes fluttering open to meet mine, I felt a surge of emotions I hadn't prepared for: gratitude, fear, excitement, and an overwhelming sense of belonging. "Morning," he murmured, his voice rough with sleep, but carrying that same warmth that had drawn me to him for years. "Morning," I replied, feeling my cheeks heat up. He stretched lazily, his muscles rippling under the soft morning light. "You're acting like everything's normal, isn't it?" he teased, sitting up and running a hand through his messy hair. I blinked, confused. "Ryan, last night was kind of a big deal." He smirked, leaning closer. "Yeah, it was. And I'm not going to lie, it was pretty awesome." His casual confidence made me laugh despite the whirlwind of thoughts still swirling in my mind. "You're impossible," I muttered, shaking my head. "And you love it," he teased, poking my side playfully. As the morning progressed, Ryan seemed completely at ease with our new dynamic, treating it like the most natural progression of our friendship. I, on the other hand, couldn't stop overthinking. What did this mean for us? Was he really okay with it, or was he just going along with it to make me happy? My silence must have been noticeable because Ryan suddenly grabbed my arm, pulling me to a stop. "Hey," he said, his expression softening. "What's going on in that head of yours?" I hesitated, unsure how to put my thoughts into words. I don't want you to feel like you have to do this, you know? I don't want to mess up what we have." Ryan's face softened further, and he placed a hand on my shoulder. "Look, I'm not doing anything I don't want to do. Yeah, this is new for me, but it feels right. Being with you feels right." His words washed away the doubts I'd been clinging to. "Really?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Really," Ryan said, his grip on my shoulder tightening. The rest of the day passed in a blur of shared smiles, subtle touches, and quiet moments that felt bigger than they seemed. Every little gesture, from the way Ryan leaned closer to the way his hand brushed against mine, felt like a victory. As the sun set, painting the sky in soft hues of orange and pink, we found ourselves sitting on the porch together. Ryan reached over, lacing his fingers with mine. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "I never saw this coming, but I'm glad it happened." I smiled, squeezing his hand gently. "Me too." He turned to me, his expression serious. "You've always been there for me, even when I didn't deserve it. Now I want to be there for you." Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes as I leaned against him, my heart full of gratitude and love. For the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to believe that this could work. Ryan wasn't just my straight best friend anymore. He was something more, something I never thought I'd have but was so grateful to have found. Looking back, I realized that night changed everything. Our friendship evolved into something deeper, more meaningful than either of us could have anticipated. We navigated the complexities of our new relationship with the same honesty and communication that had defined our friendship. Sure, there were challenges, explaining our relationship to friends and family, dealing with occasional doubts and insecurities, but through it all, we remained committed to exploring this unexpected path together. Months later, as we celebrated our first anniversary, I found myself reflecting on how far we'd come. The journey from best friends to partners had been anything but conventional, but it had taught me that love doesn't always follow predictable paths. Sometimes, it sneaks up on you in the most unexpected ways, during the most ordinary moments. And sometimes, when you least expect it, something you thought was impossible becomes possible, and turns out to be better than you ever imagined. Now, when people ask how Ryan and I got together, I simply smile and say, it's a story I never thought I'd share. Because sometimes the most extraordinary love stories begin with the simplest of beginnings: two friends, a cozy evening, and the courage to embrace the unexpected. Have you ever had a moment where you thought something was impossible, only for it to turn out better than you imagined? How did you handle it? Would you have taken the risk if you were in my shoes? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.